Seattle.
Welcome everyone. It's the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cottonwood to be held on January 7th, 2014 at 6 p.m. at the Council Chambers. City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Dowling?
Here.
Councilmember Alinsky?
Here.
Councilmember Howdy?
Here.
Councilmember Pratt?
Here.
Vice Mayor Piper? Here. Mayor Jones?
Here. Thank you very much. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have Dale Majors with us tonight to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item is a brief summary of current events by the Mayor, City Council, and City Manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during this summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Mr. Bartosh?
Madam Mayor, Council members, just two items. We'll be doing a grand opening for 10th Street on January 13th at 9 a.m. in the morning for anybody who would like to participate. And we've been informed by the Yavapai Apache Nation that they'll be starting their transit services, which will integrate with our transit services on March 1st.
You know, I'm not going to be, you said, oh, the 13th.
13th.
At what time?
9.
Because I'm headed down, I've been invited to attend a legislative session by Mr. Crandall, so I
If you would like, we can reschedule.
won't be here. Will you be here? Karen can do it.
Okay.
So,
I think those were being scheduled kind of simultaneously with your trip down there. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, usually you guys do email me and ask me, but it's all right, even though I'll cry because I have to miss it.
Take pictures.
All right, I'll get pictures. That's great. All right, so council members, Mr. Pratt?
Well, I've just been spending the last week before the beginning of the semester preparing my classes, and I wanted to remind everybody that the semester starts at Yavapai College on Monday the 13th, and that it's still not too late to register for some interesting classes.
Fantastic. And that's www.yc.edu.
yc.edu, exactly.
Okay. Council members, any other council members? Okay, I just have a few things. Superintendent, Mingus Union High School Superintendent Paul Ty sponsored a 2-day Train the Trainer seminar for a program called Kids at Hope. And the council has already had the presentation on Kids at Hope. And for years we've been calling children at risk. And the thought behind this program is that that is a terrible stereotype for children to be called. And then all children can be at hope. So the premise behind that is every child can succeed, no exceptions. And another premise is that children who have a caring adult in their lives are the most successful children. And I think there were there were close to 20 people graduating from it, and we had 2 of our police officers attended. So thank you for sending them. We appreciate that. We had the ribbon cutting for the water play feature today at the rec center, and we had 60 children from the Verde Valley Christian School, and I was talking to their principal, and he said that they just invited the kids, or there was just one day that they had to get 60 signatures from parents, and they were able to do it. And those kids were so excited. The vice mayor was there, and they were just, they're going to love that. So I just want to say thank you to the city council and the Parks and Recreation Commission and our staff, and the city manager and his staff, because we had to work really hard to make that happen. But it did happen. So Tim's new baby's going to be able to play on it in a couple years.
That's right.
Then today I also attended an event that was scheduled by the Flynn Brown Civic Leadership Academy, and several of the graduates of the academy put this together. And we had the Verde Valley Guidance Clinic hosted it in their boardroom because it was a teleconference. So they were conferencing to Tucson, Flagstaff, the Verde Valley, and Phoenix. But what it was about was telemedicine. And it's very interesting, especially in the rural areas, and how they're able to, in cases of, emergencies and triage, they're able to do this by television now. And a lot of folks that are on the Native American reservations are using telemedicine because they're so remote. And it's just something up and coming, and it's very interesting. And I was invited to stop at the library by Vanessa, who I saw at the ribbon cutting. And we have new carpet in the library. Stop in. It's brown color, and it's so pretty. And then the desk that was there was just like sort of, I guess, plywood nailed together. So they have a new little desk to greet all of the public. And what else? Oh, they had people in there working on the countertops because of 20-some years now of pushing books across those countertops. They were all worn. So they have someone in refinishing the countertops. So that's great, and I think it's a testament to the city manager in keeping up our facilities, as Councilmember Elinsky's always talking about. So it's going to be very nice for our public, I think. And then I wanted to remind everyone that the Sergeant Jordan Maynard home is almost completed by Homes for Our Troops. And there's a volunteer landscaping day this Saturday, January 11th, from 9 to 12:30. And all members of the public are invited out to help with this. There's been various businesses. The Verde Valley Medical Center has donated sandwiches, and Caesar's Pizza and Pizza Hut have donated pizza, and Home Depot's donated water. And Richard Faust and Hezekiah Allen from the city have been assisting with these details also. So I again want to thank the city manager for the time that employees have helped with this very worthy project. And so bring, whatever tools you have, a hoe, a rake, or whatever you can bring would be great. Along with, be sure that you wear long sleeve clothing, strong shoes, a hat, sunscreen, and those sorts of things. And this is located at 2680 Annika Lane. To find Annika Lane, you drive, if you're going from Cottonwood out past the high school on Camino Real, you would go until you got to East Quail Springs Road. And you would then turn right, and then Annika is a few streets up. Then also, mark your calendars, there will be a key ceremony on February 1st at 11 a.m. And that is when Jordan, Jennifer, and Jay will get the keys to their new home, and they'll be able to move in that day. So everybody is very excited about that. And we've had a team of folks here locally that have done a lot of hours and hours worth of work doing fundraising. So I want to thank all of those people too. We couldn't have done as much as we did without everybody, the whole team. Okay, moving on to the next item. We have presentations, but what I would like to do is go ahead and move up the next to the last item, which is the special event liquor license application submitted by Lana Tollison, applicant for the Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce for the annual chamber banquet scheduled for January 31st, 2014 at the Cottonwood Recreation Center. And Lana's son is home from Texas, and they have a special date tonight, so we want to get her item completed and let her spend some time with her son, who's in college now. And so Vice Mayor will recuse herself, and Councilmember Pratt's on the board, so he will also. Okay, so Ms. Jimenez?
Yes, Madam Mayor, council members. This is the first special event liquor license submitted by the Chamber for this year, and it is for their annual Chamber banquet that is scheduled for January 31st at the Cottonwood Recreation Center.
Okay, any questions about this item? I think it's something we do every year. So I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the special event liquor license.
Second.
Mr. Elinsky made the motion, Mr. Dowling seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So have fun with Marshall. Tell him hi for us. Okay, the next item is presentations. We have a check to the Homes for Our Troops from proceeds raised from the Cottonwood Fall Classic Disc Golf Tournament. And Morgan Scott will share that information with us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you probably know, Dan Luter very much would have liked to have been here to present this check tonight. The Veterans Disc Golf Classic has kind of been kind of his baby from the beginning. He's kind of developed that, him and his staff, and Sharon Caldwell's here tonight. I want to make sure to embarrass her a little bit. As many of you know, this is our second annual Veterans Ball Classic Disc Golf Tournament. It was a huge success. 82 total players came out, 67 from out of town. So 67 players from out of town came into the valley. The experience we have here, see the amazing disc golf course that was recently put in, as well as experience the rest of the town. I think we developed over $4,000 in cash donations was donated for prizes, as well as another $2,000 worth of prizes, coupons to everything else, gift certificates for winners of the tournament and different prizes throughout the tournament. But the main reason we're here tonight is we said from the beginning the purpose of this disc golf tournament is to support our veterans. And so the proceeds, which I believe were $900, which was left over after all the costs and prizes were given out, $900 the city would like to donate to the Maynard House Project. And so Sharon's here with the check, and we'd like to invite the representations of the Maynard House Project up, if that's okay with you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so we were going to invite up the core team of people that have been fundraising.
Yes.
And if you would all come up to accept this check. And we did talk to Doreen from Homes for Our Troops, and because they couldn't be here themselves to accept it, they suggested that members of the team that have been fundraising should accept the checks. Were you helping with fundraising?
I was at the tournament, but I'm fine.
Anybody who's helped with it, please, any council member that's helped, please feel free to come down and accept the check right there in the middle, yes. Oh, right in front of that seal. In front of the seal.
Oh. Better leave my glasses on.
Oh, watch out.
I'm attached.
Okay. Probably. So you might have to turn the dial to focus in. I don't know if you can see us all, if it's too close, if it's too far.
This time?
Yes, there you go.
Play this on the TV, then, right?
I think so. Yeah, it looks like it should be a TV because it's a DVD.
Push halfway down and it'll autofocus it. Oh, okay. All right. All right. So I just want to say thank you, especially to Sharon. I know that she's been a trooper as far as she's always there when you check in with the golfers and the coach. She does a lot behind the scenes to make this happen. Last year I went with her and Roger
t-shirts, socks, underwear, toiletries, slippers, books, games. We took anything that anybody would give us.
Great.
New and used.
Great. So I want to thank our team. We have Ron and Bev Luce here from VFW Post 7400, and John and Johnny Maddox, and he's involved with all kinds of veterans organizations. And he also is the person that planned the Vintages event in Rimrock, and that was quite successful. We had Brenda Strom, who's not here with us, worked with a lot of the community artists to get a lot of artwork. That was just a really classy event. Very well done. And we had Milt Culver, who's volunteered to almost bring his whole house on Saturday for this next event, the volunteer day. So we appreciate him also. And of course, Morgan, thank you for all of your work. So do you want to mail this directly? Do you want me to mail it? What would you like?
It's the best way to get it done, whichever.
Okay. So we can just forward it. Well, it's already addressed, so would you please mail this? All right. So thank you very much for coming over tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
I'll catch this.
For folks who don't know Jordan Maynard, he served in Afghanistan in the Marine Corps, and in, I think, March of 2011, he stepped on an IED and lost both of his legs, and also injured his left elbow. And so Homes for Our Troops, a wonderful nonprofit organization, is building a house for him right here in the Verde Valley. So we're very excited for him. Okay, moving on to the next item is the Arizona Hang Gliding and Paragliding Association. So if you would all come up to the lectern, and we have Dale Major, who has been visiting with me and talking about the ability to do a hang gliding presentation. And I think you'll find out, we all know this already on the council, but we have a premier hang gliding facility up on Mingus Mountain. And we're going to learn about how important it is, you know, to our tourism and of course for the enjoyment of our local folks, and people travel from all over the state and even the world, as I understand it, to use this facility. So can you remind me of your partners here?
Okay, this is Rob.
Rob?
Rob Samantha, 1451.
Clark Del, okay.
You just want to introduce yourself?
Paul Wickham, Sedona, Arizona.
Okay, Paul, thank you.
Sure.
Also the site director for Venus.
Okay. All right, Dale.
Okay, Mayor Jones, council members. I'm an advanced rated hang glider pilot. I'm a member of the United States Hang Gliding Paragliding Association and a member of the Arizona Hang Gliding Paragliding Association. I've been flying Mingus since 2000. First, I'd like to thank the city of Cottonwood for your support. Without your help and cooperation, this Mingus Mountain hang gliding and paragliding site would be greatly diminished. The use of 10th Street and the airport have been very important to maintaining a level of safety that's so important to the quality of this site. So really, a very heartfelt thank you to all of you. Mingus has been flown since the 1970s. It started off with just a talus slope from the debris pushed off from the end of the tower road. It just happened to be the perfect spot on the hill for the launch. Over the years, a lot of improvements have been made. From the rock hop of the launch, it improved to a concrete ramp, random camping to a Forest Service approved campground with tent and RV spaces, fire rings, picnic tables, and the cleanest restroom in the forest. Chris back here takes a pressure washer to it about once a week, so it's pretty nice. So recently, a paraglider launch was added to that at least doubled the use of this site. All of this, along with the bailout landing zone at the foot of Mingus, which is the old landfill, is leased to the AZHPA through the U.S. Forest Service. And Mingus is a very special place for several reasons. It's very easy to access the launch. It's a great road to the top of the hill. It's a very consistent site. It can be flown almost every day of the year. It's not an advanced rated site. Novice pilots can fly here. That's a couple of steps up above beginner pilots. So most of the novice pilots get off the hill early before the air gets more textured in the afternoon. And Mingus is a big air site in the afternoon. The launch is at 7,815 feet, and at 15 to 20 minutes, quite frequently, a pilot can be at 16 or even 18,000 feet.
Wow.
Putting that into perspective, that's almost a mile above the top of the San Francisco peaks. It's really fun to watch a crowd of people that are amazed when they see pilots sky out. We get a lot of people that come to watch. And the other Forest Service campgrounds up there, they have pamphlets on things to do in the area, and going to watch the hang gliders and paragliders is on the list of the things to do. So we have a really good working relationship with the Forest Service. Mingus is definitely the best site in the state, and in probably the top 10 in the United States, and quite possibly in the top 5. It has great cross-country potential. The record for the site is just under 200 miles. One of our Arizona pilots, Dustin Martin, in 2012, set the new world record with a straight line distance flight of 475 miles. From Zapata, Texas, that's by the border with Mexico, almost into the Panhandle. That was 11 hours in air, and I don't think he'd been able to accomplish this monumental flight without Mingus as a place to hone his skills. The New York Times wrote a 10-page article on Dustin Martin and Australian pilot Johnny Duran's epic flight. Dustin beat Mr. Duran by about 2 miles. But this is how this affects the city of Cottonwood financially. I just checked the membership of the Arizona Club. We have 756 members, but we get pilots from all over the world. Australia, Canada, Brazil, Scotland, and almost every state. And here's an example. One of our friends who is a paragliding instructor in Utah met his now wife who was here flying Mingus. We went with her back to one of her home sites in Europe, where when you get to an altitude at that site, you can see Mont Blanc, Matterhorn, and Eiger all at the same time. And she came here to fly. That, to me, that really says something about the quality of this site. It's not the local pilots that are going to bring money into the city of Cottonwood. They're already here. It's the visiting pilots, the ones from Phoenix and Tucson, the ones that are on vacation, staying in motels, having dinner at Nick's, or buying gas and groceries. And here's some statistics from the 2007, 2008, and 2011 Labor Day flyouts. Paul Whitcomb is here, passed out questionnaires to the 100 pilots who attended the 2007 flyouts. 60 pilots flew 145 flights in that 3-day event. One of the questions was, how much did you spend locally? The average money spent on gas, food, and lodging per pilot was $180. So that was $18,000 spent by the pilots in the 3-day event. The average money spent per pilot per flight during the year was $86.20 per flight on average. The 2008 and 2011 statistics were $208.33 for each pilot spent on gas, food, and lodging for the Labor Day flyout. And that's just rounded out numbers. From May through October, that's the big part of our season, we have an average of 800 visiting pilots flying 715 flights. If the average money spent per pilot was $86.20, that adds up to $68,960. If the average money spent per pilot was $180, that adds up to $144,000. So a lot of it depends on the individual. If they're camping on the hill or staying in a motel, you know, a lot of people don't like to camp. So they come down here, and a lot of it depends on the weather too. And big events seem to bring in a lot more money. Now that the paraglider ramp is functional, I'd say add another 2/3 to that figure from 2007. That was $18,000 for the 3-day event. And with the influx of the new paraglider pilots, it adds up to a pretty substantial number. Now add to that the people who just come to watch the event. That seems to be a really viable impact on the local economy. But we can do better. Here's the problem. We're at a crossroads. We have a landing zone issue. The bailout's necessary for emergencies, but it's a land of broken aluminum and bandages, and the airport's getting to be a really busy place. So most of it, you know, it's constant general aviation traffic now. And most of us local pilots have aircraft radios. The visiting pilots don't. 10th Street, it's the perfect size, and it's a great place to land even for visiting pilots, but it's in the airport traffic pattern again. And it's stressful to visiting pilots, and it's a long 5 miles out there. Most visiting pilots don't fly cross-country. That's done by us locals. We plan out routes. We have landing zones picked out. So it's the visiting pilots that need to be catered to. So that's the issue with Mingus. To get more people coming here, we need a better landing zone. And I understand that there's possible options, some at the airport. And I guarantee you, if there's a new safe landing zone on the west side of the airport, there'll be an article in the Hang Gliding and Paragliding magazine. And word spreads quickly. So if there's a safe place for people to land, you know, there's going to be like a floodgate open. There's going to be a lot of new pilots coming here to fly. So thank you all for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. That almost makes me feel like I'm flying over it like you do.
I left some DVDs of Flying Mingus on the desks there. I think you enjoy them.
Thank you.
A lot of that is Flying Mingus.
Mr. Elinsky.
Deb, do you have any specific recommendations to the city how we could help, or any specific sites you have in mind?
We need something on the west side of the airport. Now, unfortunately, that land was leased out to Mike Mangini, and if the city could pick up some of that land back from him, I know we've talked to Murray and to Doug about that. You know, and I was talking at our last meeting with Doug about Dustin, and he knew Dustin, you know, knew Dustin's mom. And it's pretty interesting. One of his sergeants knew Dustin, had to chase him quite a few times. So, yeah, we need something on the west side of the airport. We need to get out of the traffic pattern. It's getting busy here. And, you know, there's never been a plane hang glider incident anywhere that I know of in the whole United States and possibly in the whole world, but we don't need to have it happen here first. And we need something on the west side of the airport. And they're working on a little bit of strip that's just to the west of the storage units where Mike has his stuff. And I went up and walked it the other day. It looks doable. So we'll see where it goes. You know, it's something to keep in mind. If anything ever happens, you know, opens up, I think it'd be economically viable that we could actually have competitions here. Because what happens is, you know, there's no real good place to land here. The bailout's a horrible place. Like I said, it's the land of broken aluminum and bandages. I watched Rob land there this summer, and I watched him from the top of the hill, and I think you might have saw a picture of the bailout from the top of the hill. And he landed, and I saw the top of the glider come up, and then he just sat there and sat there and sat there. But pretty soon I called him on the phone to see if he's okay, and he said, "Yeah, I'm all right." But then, like, what, 3 days later, you're still going, "Yeah, I'm okay." You know, so it's a bad place to land. So we need it. It's there for emergencies. But we do need something that's a little closer to the bottom of the hill. And that's what the airport is basically for.
So is that land is it city-owned that's being leased to Mangini, or is it?
It was leased out in a 75-year lease, well, a 100-year lease, and then Mike bought the lease from somebody else.
Okay.
I mean, who knew back then that we would have needed it now? That the way that the valley's growing. That's the trouble with hang gliding, is everybody concentrates on the sites themselves where you launch. But it's two parts. And you know, when you launch, you have to have a place to land.
Right.
So.
So, Doug, do you want to share a little bit? Dan was working with Mike, but that's been years ago.
And it's actually changed locations. We're looking now at a site just west of the airport. We are having discussions with Mike Mangini about some type of a land swap, and hopefully in the next couple of months we can bring recommendation to the city council to make that swap a reality. And then obviously the paraglider group has been a fantastic group to work with, very cooperative, and they're interested in helping to develop the site to make it a, a world-class place to land as well as take off.
So I'm really happy to hear that it's like a couple of months window, or, because like I said, it has been many years that you've been working on that, so I'm happy to hear that you're getting close to a resolution, because I really do think and have thought for some time that, this is something, like Del said, that's, and of course you realize that too, is really special about the Verde Valley.
It is.
Vice Mayor?
How large a piece of property are you needing?
We need something that's about 200, just over 200 feet wide and about 1,500 feet long. Width isn't near as critical as length, because on a turbulent day, I had a video on here of landing at the airport in a really turbulent day, and you can see how much you actually get rocked around, and it was rough all the way to the ground. So when there's fences and things on the sides, you need something a couple hundred feet wide. But length is really critical. That little strip in front of the airport there that you can see he's coming up towards, this is Bob landing there actually. And it's 600 feet long, which doesn't, I believe it is.
That's the,
isn't that?
That's the area we're looking at.
600 feet long, about 90 feet wide.
It's actually, it's a little over 1,000 feet long, maybe
The grass strip. Really?
Oh, no, you're
I
talking
mean,
grass
the grass strip. The first one right in front of the terminal.
Sorry, there's two areas here, if you see where the mouse is. The landing in the past, this is the grass strip here. That's where Rob, I assume, is where you're going to land right now.
Yeah, he's landing there.
And the area that we're considering purchasing back the lease is this area you see right here, west of the runway, a little bit further away from the runway, further away from the landing aircraft, and it's approximately 1,000 feet by, I think, close to 100.
Well, I really appreciate the patience of the hang gliders, because you guys have just really, it's been a long time, and you've been really, really patient, and you're great to work with. And
everything that you've done for us. The use of 10th Street and just the ability to land at the airport has made it a viable site. And without those two, it's,
right.
You're stuck at the bailout. And a lot of people now, what they're doing instead of landing here, because the landing is getting more difficult, is they're flying over the back and they're landing in Prescott. So you're losing a lot of revenue to that. And I find myself doing that during the summer. We camp on the hill, have a motorhome, and we camp up there about every other weekend. I find myself, just for the aggravation of not having to use two radios, because I fly with an aircraft radio, I go over the back and land over there by the fairgrounds, or we have a friend that has a private airstrip over there. We'll fly it there.
That's amazing to think that you can jump off on this side and go high enough to get over that mountain and land over there.
To altitude at Mingus, you can actually
18,000 feet, you said.
You can almost go on glide to Ashford from Mingus.
Wow.
So it's amazing how far you can go, and it's amazing how far you can see.
Well, I think, I think everybody's on the same page. Staff is, city manager, the same page of knowing that we need this. The city manager talks about in the future needing that space for soccer fields that you're landing on now, but nobody's wanted to go there as long as you've needed that space, and we don't have another solution. But I'm really happy to hear about the couple of months. That makes me feel good.
That would be tremendous.
Yeah. So
standing ovations.
Right.
From all over.
Right. So, well, thank you so much for being here. And you said we have a video or a CD?
I put a DVD on all of your desks.
Oh, and then I forgot to give you your certificate here if you want it. This is the, thank you for saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm glad you said that. I thought it was a coaster.
Has no cash value.
I don't see that I have one.
You can have Randy's.
Okay, I'll take his. All right, so thank you so much. I guess we have Rob, Paul, And Dale, who did, I took Randy's. Okay. Thank you. If you're not here, you lose, right? Yeah. He wanted to be here tonight, but he just had another obligation that he couldn't get out of. So thank you very much, Dale, and all of you, and best wishes for safe travels. Okay. So moving on to the next item is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action. Comments are limited to a 5-minute time period. And we have with us tonight Lonnie Wyatt.
Thank you. Sorry. Good evening, folks. Happy New Year. Is this working all right for you?
I think so.
I can't tell. I'm here still and always regarding the sidewalks, driveways, and I know Morgan has been busy getting that going.
Excuse me, can we get, Tom, could you turn on the lights for us, please? Thank you so much.
Oh, I looked so much better with the other light. Anyway, and as I continue my voyages and adventures through town, I'm still I use my cell phone, photograph it, and then go home and translate it into, I had no idea my phone would hold this many pictures. So, not, not being a teenager, I don't know anything about how to transfer this information, photos, into a more organized, journalized, so that I can show you what we all miss and have missed. I know I've asked before, and before I do it, I want to make sure that I either have your no, we can't comment, or your blessing, because I'm prepared now to go to all the local judges and present this on open court day, present this as a form of community service, and it's going to, I don't want to know what the city workers make, I don't. And we grew faster than I believe we're prepared for. In any case, I still say I'll volunteer my time, I'll show them. I do want to be able to get this in some kind of a form so I can show you folks, because I'm so darn serious. And I promised all these folks that are disabled, some worse, some not as. So, do I have your fill in blank or to go to the judges on open court and present this as an idea, community service, saving the city works, I don't know what programs as far as paying city employees to go out there and sweep a sidewalk. Somebody who did a bad no-no, they can go sweep a sidewalk. Sweep a sidewalk. Do I have that from you folks, or is it kind of, I'm on my own, there you go, keep going?
And you do know that we can't comment on...
Okay, and that's what I'm asking.
Right.
Right.
Because,
right.
Yeah, we can't comment
Right.
on comments to the...
All right, then I'm just going to go
call
ahead.
to the public.
I knew that answer, then I'm sorry.
But you've been working with staff and...
I have been, and I continue to, in my very not technical way, journalize this. So I appreciate being able to work. I said I was going to keep coming, and I'm still... last time I rode all the way from my house to here and home that night. Tonight, is that my timer? Mm-hmm. Okay, tonight I'm riding home alone, so, you know, anybody who passes me, flip on your high beams, not in my face, but, you know, coming behind me so I don't die, because it's always an adventure.
Thank you for your comments.
I appreciate your time. I'm going to tell you one silly thing. You know, we have in the form of drainage, a lot of river rock, directing water, some in which goes into what we used to call the toilet bowl. I went backwards all the way into one yesterday, and to get out of that puppy, I keep getting hurt, and I keep showing up one of these days. I don't know if I've been beat. I appreciate it, I do.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Okay, so the next item is approval of the minutes. And I just saw one small correction. Let me get over here to my packet. Let's see, minutes. On page... It's page 5. At the very bottom, the very last line, it talks about the people who spoke in favor of the item, and Roseberry, I can remember, was against. So if you just put that name up into the against pile. And so if I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes of the December 17th City Council meeting.
Second.
Okay, so Mr. Pratt made the motion and Mr. Elinsky seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, comments regarding items listed on the agenda are limited to a 5-minute time period per speaker. The consent agenda, the following items are considered to be a routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item number 1 is acceptance of an easement from Cottonwood Development Group, LLC. And item number 2 is ratification of the purchase of in-car camera systems for the Cottonwood Police Department. Are there any items that someone from the council would like to pull for discussion? Are there any items that a member of the public wants to pull for discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Elinsky made the motion, Mr. Pratt seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item is new business. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. Item number 1 is resolutions numbers 2729, 2730, and 2731, appointing members to the city's Planning and Zoning Commission. And we have Baron Najad here with us tonight to discuss or present this item.
Madam Mayor, council members, staff is requesting here tonight your appointment for 3 open seats in Planning Zoning Commission. And this commission has 7 members, and 3 of them are up. And Ed Kyler, chairman, Judd Wasden, Philip Rosen, and 2 of them were expired. Their terms were expired in December, and Judd Wasden's was January 5th. And these are existing members. City received 4 applications. All these existing commissioners reapplied, and 1 new member, Leonard Filner, also applied, and we've been in touch with him. He couldn't make it tonight due to his work, but rest of the commissioners are here present. And you have all the resumes in the package, and this is all for my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. So we would like to give each candidate an opportunity to come up and speak and tell us a little bit about why you would like to continue to serve. And so, Mr. President Kyler. And any other questions that the council might like to ask?
Mayor, council members, Ed Kyler, a 14-year resident of the city of Cottonwood, proud to be one. I have been a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission since 2002, and I am the current chairperson. I wish to have at least 1 more term on the commission, as I do enjoy it.
Any questions?
Any questions that I can answer about myself?
Mr. Kyler.
We know him pretty well.
Yeah. Any questions from members of the public about this? So you've done a great job, Mr. Kyler, and we certainly appreciate your commitment and the time and your expertise.
Thank you.
After all these years of serving. So, okay, thank you very much. So, Mr. Rosen?
Madam Mayor, council members, Phil Rosen is my name. Been living in Cottonwood since September of 2007. I've only been on the Planning and Zoning Commission since the spring of last year. Took over for a member that had passed away, and my term was, I think, about 9 months. And I think when I asked for that appointment, I said that if it was short, so if you really didn't like what I was doing, you didn't have to put up with it for very long. And if I found that it wasn't a good fit, the same thing was true for me. I haven't heard from anyone, and I certainly enjoy what I'm doing. I feel like I'm a part of things, and that I have some little bit to add to the goings-on. It's a steep learning curve, I have to say. There's a lot to learn, and I'm generally just pretty quiet in the meetings unless there's something that just reaches out and grabs me. But I'm learning a lot, and I enjoy serving as a volunteer in the city, and I would like to continue. So if you can see your way clear to allow me to do that, I'd be very grateful.
Any questions for Mr. Rosen from members of the council? And members of the public, any questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
We appreciate your service. And Mr. Wasden.
Madam Mayor, council members, Judd Wasden. I am also interested in returning to the commission. I served on the Design and Review Board that's now kind of folded over into Planning and Zoning, and it's been a great experience for me, and working with these gentlemen and the other commissioners, and we've been here 9 years now, and consider Cottonwood home, and very much have a vested interest in the community, and I've enjoyed the last 9 years just seeing how it's developed, and so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Wasden? Any questions for members of the public? Okay, we also appreciate your service and know that you have a young family and you're raising them here in Cottonwood, and of course you care about the future for them.
Not fast, yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr. Pratt.
Yeah, I have a comment. I think it's commendable again that we have another citizen who's not currently serving who applied. But I do think too that all of these folks are doing a good job, and we've kind of set a precedent that if people are willing to serve again who are currently serving, we reappoint them, and we certainly, the whole city appreciates your volunteer work and your input into all of this. So.
And planning and zoning is such an important board because there's actually a lot of things that you do that don't come to the city council.
Exactly.
And so things like some signs and that sort of thing, you know, you really are the final word unless you get a hearing on it or something. But so it is a very important role in our community. Having served on it in the 1980s, I know how much work it can be. And if the economy picks up, you can spend many hours at a planning and zoning meeting and many hours studying for one, as you all know. So, Mr. Pratt?
Is it time for a motion?
Please.
Okay, I'll make the first one, and I'll do it, and this one will be the top of the alphabet. I move to approve resolution number 2729, appointing Ed Kyler to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 3-year term that expires January 8, 2017.
Second.
So Mr. Pratt made the motion, the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and do these in order then. City Clerk, please read resolution number 2729 by title only.
Resolution number 2729, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, appointing Ed Kyler, a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and establishing his term of office. Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I entertain a vote for resolution number 2730.
You mean a motion?
I think that is exactly what I meant. Thank you.
I'll make another motion.
Okay, thanks.
I move to approve resolution number 2730, appointing Philip Rosen to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 3-year term that expires January 8, 2017.
Second.
So Mr. Pratt made the motion, the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. City Clerk, please read resolution number 2730 by title only.
Resolution number 2730, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, appointing Philip Rosen, a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and establishing his term of office. Madam Mayor.
Okay. And next is resolution number 2731. I would entertain a motion, Mr. Pratt.
I move to approve resolution number 2731, appointing Judd Wasden to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 3-year term that expires January 8, 2017.
Second.
So Mr. Pratt made the motion, the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, City Clerk, please read resolution number 2731 by title only.
Resolution number 2731, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, appointing Judd Wasden, a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and establishing his term of office. Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. So thank you all for being here tonight, and again, thank you for your service. You are appreciated. Okay, Ms. Najad? What
Sorry,
are
I
you
was going
pointing
to ask,
to?
do I need to step down on this next one, the historic preservation? Probably should, yeah.
Been nice knowing you folks.
See you later.
We'll get a cup of coffee.
Okay, Ms. Najad?
Madam Mayor, again, this is historic preservation seats required your appointment, and it is a 7-member commission. We've been functioning with 1 open seat for a while due to a resignation in the past, and 3 members' terms were up in November. Therefore, we have 4 openings, and current members were Tim Elinsky, Chair, Glenda Farley, Karen Love. These all existing current members reapply for the position. And there's another member, Chris Wernaski, and something special about this member, due to CLG, Certified Local Government requirement, one of the members has to be a certified architect. So Mr. Wernaski fills that position, and also Commissioner C. To all the appointments and historic preservation will be functioning full members.
Okay. And he's a very accomplished architect and has done much work in the city for many different businesses and firms, and some work for the city also. So he's very accomplished in what he does and very good at it. So it's really great to be able to consider him for this commission. Okay, so we just as well go down. Any questions for Baron Najad before we talk about votes? Okay, so the members who are here, I think I saw Glenda Farley and Karen Leff are both here. And I know that sometimes you're kind of shy, ladies, but would you please come up and just share a little bit of information about your service so far, and maybe share with the council what you'd like to see in the future as a member of the commission.
Well, I believe that historic preservation is a very important part of every community. So I'm very happy that we have this. We've already come 3 years, and we're finally starting to step it up.
Good.
So I'd really like to continue and be a part of that. And of course, historic preservation has always been some of my passion.
And she knows a lot of history about Old Town and the city, and has done a lot of research and spent a lot of time, and is really a resource in the community for history. So any questions from Ms. Leff? Not? Any questions from members of the public or comments? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Council, my name is Glenda Farley, and I have been on the Historic Preservation Commission for the past 3 years. I think we've made some progress, and I'd like to continue making more progress and finishing some of the projects.
Thank you very much. And we get some great research from Glenda Farley, who grew up, I guess, in Cottonwood. And Flagstaff, and was gone a few years with your occupation, but came back, and now is, gosh, spending, I bet, hours and hours every week on research about history for Cottonwood in the area, which is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
So, any questions from members of the council or comments? Members of the public? Thank you very much. And Chris, I don't see Chris here tonight. Is Chris here?
He tried to come, he said he wasn't sure.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. But we do have a star council member here, Mr. Timothy Elinsky, who who has actually led the charge for the Historical Commission from prior to day one, and has worked a lot with the city manager and gosh, lots and lots of people at the state level, local level, and so I understand that you still feel a commitment to this organization.
I do, thanks, Mayor, Council. Really do appreciate your support with this. We have, the dream team, the brains of the operation back there. Really just a wealth of information. We are gaining steam and moving forward. I'd really like to see in the next couple of years a lot of great things happen. We'll be coming to council with some exciting stuff that we'll be doing on the commission. Again, just your support is wonderful. you know, it was a long struggle to get where we are. I know I've said that before, but I just appreciate all the staff time that we can get from you, and we've got a commission that's just geared up and ready to accomplish a lot. So any support that you can give us is much appreciated.
It'll be exciting to see what's coming up. So any questions for Mr. Elinsky from members of the council or members of the public? So we'd like to thank you for your service also. Mr. Pratt.
I just want to say I think it's a really important commission you're serving on, and again, I appreciate all the time you put into it. And Tim, you've led the charge well, and I find it commendable again and heartening that people who have served on the commission before are willing to serve again, and that we do have an architect too. So
that's excellent. Yes.
These ones seem like no-brainers.
So any more comments? No? Okay, I guess the next step is entertaining a motion to, shall we do these all at once? All at once? Mr. Pratt, you're good at doing all at once things. Rev it up here.
There's a difference in the dates.
I move that we approve resolution number, where is it?
So if
Resolution number 2732, appointing Tim Elinsky to the Historic Preservation Commission for a 3-year term that expires January 8th, 2017. I move to approve Glenda Farley, to approve resolution number 2733, appointing Glenda Farley to the Historic Preservation Commission for a 3-year term that expires January 8th, 2017. I move to approve resolution number 2734, appointing Karen Leff to the Historic Preservation Committee for a 3-year term that expires January 8th, 2017. And this one has a different date. I move to approve resolution number 2735, appointing Christian Vernosky to the Historic Preservation Commission for the remainder of a 3-year term that expires November 3rd, 2014.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay.
Sorry.
So Councilmember Pratt made the motion, the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. City Clerk, please read resolutions number 2732, 2733, 2734, and 2735 by title only.
Resolution number 2732, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Tim Elinsky, a member of the city's Historic Preservation Commission, and establishing his term of office. Resolution number 2733, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Glenda Farley, a member of the city's Historic Preservation Commission, and establishing her term of office. Resolution number 2734, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Karen Leff, a member of the city's Historic Preservation Commission, and establishing her term of office. Resolution number 2735, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Christian Bernosky, a member of the city's Historic Preservation Commission, and establishing his term of office. Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, the next item is approval of a lease agreement with the Verde Valley Youth Commission for use of the old fire station located at 345 East Mingus Avenue for a teen center and waiver of the building permit fee for upgrades required for the building. Ms. Jimenez.
Madam Mayor,
Steve, okay. All right, Mr. Horton.
Madam Mayor and Council, as you recall, last August, the Council unanimously offered its support for providing space for the management of a teen center in the old fire station. And it was to this newly forming, still forming group called the Verde Valley Youth Commission. By way of disclosure, I'm providing some assistance to that group in incorporating and developing bylaws, just so that the council is aware of that. But the item before you tonight, since the organization is not yet incorporated, so it's not a recognized entity, so it's not capable of contracting, providing you with the assurances that would come in the lease it signs. we're asking for your authority, once they are incorporated, to offer them the proposed form of lease, or as amended by the council, if you want to discuss the terms that are in there. So that we would not, unless you want us to, come back to you once they're incorporated to move forward with leasing them that facility.
So I had a question. Doesn't it take like a year or something to be able to incorporate? I mean, it just takes a lot of nonprofits the longest time. Is there some way that you're speeding that up, or because you are an attorney, maybe it's more expeditious than some folks who are trying to do it themselves?
And no, Madam Mayor, I think the process that takes more time than the incorporation, than actually being registered with the Corporation Commission, is obtaining the 501c3 status from the IRS.
Okay, and that's what takes so much time.
Longer, yeah.
So you can actually be incorporated, you can't incorporate till you receive that, though?
No, you can.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can register as a not-for-profit corporation. It's just how donations to the organization are treated for tax purposes as to the donors.
Okay. So as soon as you get that, and that shouldn't take too much time, then they'll be able to legally enter into leases and that sort of thing.
Correct.
Okay. The only thing, I'm like totally supportive of this. We've got some members here of the team tonight, and we've got Ellen Marks and Dane and Kathy Wambacher. Is anybody else here that's worked on this committee? And of course, our city clerk, Marianne Jimenez, is the chair. And they've just worked so hard, and in spite of all the challenges and the hills to climb, they haven't given up, and they're still working on it. They still believe in our youth, our kids, and they're just not letting go of the idea that this can work, and I really believe that it will myself. I really think they're going to be successful. The only thing I was concerned about was the length of the lease, and it's 25 years, and I know that we've done 25 years for Boys and Girls Club, and we do 100 years leases for the airport. You know, I was just concerned. I mean, I didn't know if there might be a way that you could, you know, do it for like 5 years with an opportunity to renew, kind of like the airport leases where, you know, if there's any reasonable request. Just my concern with watching the history of the Boys and Girls Club, you know, we're talking about eventually what if we build a city hall there? Well, then they won't have a building, and it will be our responsibility to figure that out for them. So, you know, my concern was we're kind of binding future councils. Things change in a city, buildings, you know, things change for the needs. And so I was just wondering how the council, you know, do you like the idea of 25 years? And if you like that, that's fine with me. Or do you think there might be some other arrangements in case things change in the city? What are your thoughts? If there's...
I don't have a problem with a 25-year lease. That'll get here before you know it.
Oh, that's true. Time.
In many cases, I think, don't those leases they usually have a clause in there for separation or for opt-outs, or...
And this one, Mr. Dowling, would be, there are default provisions, a notice and an opportunity to cure. We also wrote into this particular one, since this is a fledgling organization, if, I believe it was for 90 days, if they cease, once they commence operating a teen center, give them time to get up and running. If that use ceases, then they would forfeit the right to continue.
Within 90 days. So they would have the assurance that if they put a lot of leasehold improvements in, that they could keep it for 25 years. But if they weren't successful, then it's 90 days and it would revert back to cities. Mr. Elinsky?
I understand where you're coming from, and I see your point, but I also think that a 25-year commitment on behalf of the city shows that we are committed to our teens as well. And so if there were something that came up where we needed to use that building for another purpose, I think by offering a 25-year lease, we've let the teen center know and the teens know that we're committed to finding them another building that's suitable for their purposes. So
good point.
I'm fine with the length of the term.
So everybody's comfortable with that?
I agree.
Okay, so it sounds good. It was a good discussion. Any comments, Ms. Jimenez?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Our commission met last night, and we talked about our incorporation papers, which we are going to expedite, so we anticipate having the nonprofit status from the Arizona Corporation Commission within 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And we have also decided to change the name of the commission. We are now going to be known as the Verde Valley Teen Center Commission, which really focuses on what our focus is on, is a teen center. We were sometimes confused with the Cottonwood Youth Commission, as we were called the Verde Valley Youth Commission. So we came to agreement that we would change our name to the Verde Valley Teen Center Committee.
That's good.
We are under the umbrella of the Moose Lodge, so any donations that are made towards the teen center are tax deductible at this time, even though we have not acquired our 501c3 from the federal government yet. Alan Mark serves as our treasurer, and Kathy Wambacher is one of our board members. And we have Mr. Backus from Backus Building has been very helpful in assisting us. We just have a few revisions to the plan to remodel, upgrade the building as required by the city Community Development Department. So we're ready to go, and he's gathered a lot of materials and donations of materials for the teen center. So we're ready to go and start working. So as soon as we can get this agreement approved, and we're hoping that you'll approve it tonight, contingent upon signing off by the mayor as soon as we receive our official nonprofit status from the state, we would appreciate it. And then we are also asking for waiver of the building permit fees. The improvements that will be done to the building, of course, will stay with the building, and they are required by the city. One of the big costs that we will have to take on is a cost for the smoke detector fire alarm system, which right now we have a quote. It's approximately $3,500, which is not in the building now, and that will be a big improvement, which will benefit the city building also. So we are asking for waiver of the building permit fees also.
I think that's a reasonable request and would show the council's commitment, as the other members have said. Mr. Elinsky?
The old fire station didn't have fire alarms in it?
Apparently not.
Well, they had the firefighting crew right there, so maybe they didn't think they needed them, huh? So, and there were a lot of, when the city staff looked at that building, there were a lot of issues like that, OSHA issues and those sorts of things that you've been working through a list and crossing them off one by one, as I understand it.
Right, there's ADA issues. We need to, well, there's only one bathroom there now. We have to add a second one, and of course it has to be, at least one of them has to be ADA compliant. And there's a door that needs to be added to the 3-bay area. There's another door that needs to be added to partition the area off that leads to the side bay on the west side of the building, and the upstairs, which right now we will not be using the upstairs, and the city will continue to use the bays on the west side to store Christmas decorations and so forth. So the area that we will be using at this time will be the main 3-bay area and the offices surrounding the 3-bay area.
Okay. And I think those offices were added by the ambulance company at the time that they rented it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they will come out, they'll be very helpful to us because we plan to use one as a study room, a computer room, and a video game room, craft room. So they'll work out for us. And then we're also asking that the desks that I believe the Verde Valley Ambulance Company left in the building stay with the building so that we can use them for the kids. It'll be something that we won't have to acquire. They're not being used now by anyone, but there's several desks in there that's within the lease that we're asking for use.
I saw different items that had been requested also. Well, no one else is using them, so I would think that it would be okay if you did. They shouldn't just be sitting there. So this is all very exciting. When do you think you might open your doors? Any discussion on that yet?
We're hoping now, perhaps by the end of February.
Wow.
So once, we probably won't be able to get our building permit until the end of the month. We have to wait until we get the lease signed, which depends on when we get our status, nonprofit status from the ACC. So at this point, it's kind of put us behind a month. So we're hoping by the end of February, 1st of March.
Great, that's awesome. I've kind of, the seminar that we had, the summit, I guess we called it, what was it, last January?
Was it a year ago, last
I can
January?
see that where some of the, I guess there were 4 different areas, but I can see one of them was build it and they will come. And so you're checking that one off. And then another was on the team, the Alan Marks team at that summit, they were talking about getting the 501c3 nonprofit. So that's another one, and I don't remember what some of the other ones were, but I bet you're crossing off quite a few of them.
Yes.
As you go along.
Yes.
So it's good to see that progress.
And really, it's due to the perseverance of a core group of people: Alan and Sherry Marks, Kathy Wambacher, Jean
Napinski.
Yeah. Yes, and they're there. They're there every month, and they're really making it happen. They've helped with our fundraisers, and we have 2 more fundraisers in the works for February. But I'd really like to thank Alan and Sherry and Kathy, who are present here tonight, and Jean for hanging in there. And we're dedicated, and we really want to make this happen. So we're inviting the community to please step forward and help us now. We have a lot of people that say it's needed, we want it to happen, and we'd like them to walk the talk and join us and make it happen.
And
help
support
with the building, get the building going, and volunteers to support the fundraising and so forth.
So, members of this public that are here tonight and members of our public who are out in television land, this is your opportunity. Many people have said we want a teen center, we think it's important to have a teen center. Well, we have one now, so we need your help. So if you want to help or can help, either by donating your time, talents, or funding, you can contact Marianne Jimenez at 340-2727, or stop in right here next door at her office and visit with her. So among those named, I think that we all know that our city clerk has kind of bulldogged this right along and not given up. And we appreciate that, because there were many times when trying to get something like this started, a person could just throw up their hands and say, but everyone's persevered, and we appreciate you and all of the people that have stuck with it.
And we really want to thank the council for your support. Of course, it wouldn't be happening without you.
Well, you're welcome, and it's an easy thing to support, because when you just look at the whole thing, all the efforts and all the time, it's been a couple years you've been working on this. It's for the kids, it's for the teens, it's for our youth, and what better thing could we do, in the community than something like this? So we're hoping to see every success, and keep us posted.
We will.
And I'm sure you'll be back to ask us to help out with this or that, so we're here for you.
Thank you.
And so the request.
With a motion?
Yes, please, and also please include the fees in the motion.
I think it's in the motion.
It's all written out, yeah. Okay. So Councilmember Howdegi.
I move to approve the lease agreement with the Verde Valley, you changed your name, Verde Valley Teen Center Commission.
Commission, yes.
And waive the building permit fee in the amount of $319.06.
Second.
Okay, so Councilmember Howdegi made the motion, the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
As an afterthought, I think too we could recommend that people can contact Bruce if they're for some reason unable to contact Marianne here next door, because I think we have some folks over there that are very interested in seeing this come to fruition. So
right,
in case they need someone else to contact, I'm sure we can do that.
That's a great point. We have Alan Marks here tonight. He is the treasurer, and he can be contacted. And of course, Kathy Wambacher, everybody in town knows the Wambachers, and they can be contacted, any of these members. But a lot of people go out to the Moose Lodge, and I see that Alan's there most every time I'm there, so he can be contacted also. So we appreciate your work, and we're kind of like really excited to see what the next step is and what happens for our kids. Okay, moving on to the next item is ordinance number 603, revising section 19H of the city's employee manual with respect to conducting fingerprinting background checks on newly hired city employees and certain volunteers. And this is the first reading. And we have Iris. I'm guessing we have Iris. There she is. I thought you were back there. Okay, we have Iris Dobler here to present this item.
Madam Mayor and council members, this is the first reading, as was mentioned, to update and revise section 19H of the Cottonwood Employee Manual. This is regarding background and criminal checks, fingerprinting checks on new employees. We do it currently on all new hire full-time employees. We also need to do it on all of our part-time employees. We've been gathering lots of part-time employees lately. So we'd like to do it on the part-time employees as well as some selected volunteers that might be working with children or vulnerable adults. And we need to do this to make sure that we are hiring people who can safely work with our young children and adults, particularly volunteers in the library and at the rec center, in those areas, part-time employees. And we also need to make sure, or the Department of Public Safety has indicated that our policies need to identify to them which categories of employees and applicants will be subject to fingerprinting and background checks. And so this is to update our employee manual and our policies to go along with what we feel we need to do. Mr. Horton and I have been working on this together, so if you have any questions or if he has anything more he'd like to say about it, he's welcome to.
Seems pretty straightforward. A lot of companies, institutions have this policy. Makes a lot of sense.
I guess I'm just a little disappointed to see it, because I hate to think that our volunteers now would start to slough off. I think it can be a little bit of an impediment if you want to volunteer to have to go through that process, and I understand the need for it. I just mean that I'm disappointed.
They don't pay for it or anything. All they have to do is go to the police department and be fingerprinted, and that's really all they have to have done.
Yeah.
So
I think even that sometimes though is a little bit of a hindrance to some folks.
I think some don't understand why.
Well, that was a question I had. Is it really, that's how it's written now, is that anyone who will or may work with children has to go, or elderly would have to get the background check? But I mean, realistically in practice, everybody is going to have to do this. We're not going to just limit it to those who may.
Full-time and part-time employees will be checked, and probably most of our volunteers, yes.
So what criteria would there be where a volunteer would not be fingerprinted?
Well, if we had a volunteer that came in and perhaps helped out someday at one of the recycling events or something, we probably wouldn't need to have them fingerprinted. They wouldn't be working in one of our facilities with anyone where they could be off in a separate section by themselves or something like that.
So is that going to be outlined in the ordinance as to who may not have to be?
It probably won't specify, because I think it would change too often. I'd hate to be real specific about it. HR, Human Resources, will make that determination as to who needs to be fingerprinted.
So that'll be a judgment call?
Depending on what they're going to be doing, yes.
And that, for better or worse, that was the thinking, that we'd leave that to the HR manager, and she could certainly consult with me or the city manager, but leave it to her discretion as to whether to cause a fingerprint check to be done, depending upon the role that the person would serve. One of the other large carve-outs, because they're volunteers too, is board and commission members. Because we didn't think that they would have any. I mean, the point here is to ensure safety of kids and adult and elderly in the context of unsupervised contact. You know, and that's really the benchmark.
But I'm not clear as why it's not clear in the ordinance. I mean, if that's what we're going to do, that's maybe what should be stated instead of to guarantee that everybody's treated, you know, across the board fairly. I mean, I just don't understand. We have a guideline, or we don't have a guideline, and who's gonna administer the guideline? We know that. I just want it to be the same for everybody across the board, not arbitrary, not for some reason we'll refuse someone and have someone go through the drill. And that's my concern.
And certainly staff can come back with something more specific if that's council's pleasure.
So you're saying that you would want everyone on a planning and zoning commission to be fingerprinted to make it...
What I'm saying is that we should have the same rules for everyone involved. And whatever rules we have should be outlined so we all know which rules we're playing by. That would be my concern.
Or to surmise, perhaps just to specify the people who are working with children, to specify who it is, that to be more specific and who needs to have it done. I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Well, that would be part of it. I mean, if I'm going to step into a position and they say you may or you may not be fingerprinted and, you know, background checked, I'd kind of like to know what the guidelines are.
Well, and Madam Mayor, Mr. Hadeghi, the discretion to be exercised is not who should and shouldn't be fingerprinted. As I read section H4, it would be up to the HR manager to determine if that person will or may have the unsupervised contact. So that's the discretion she'll exercise, is to make a good faith determination.
Well, and I don't doubt that that's not the intention here, but what we have here in the ordinance, it says certain volunteers. You know, I'd like a definition of which certain volunteers we're talking about. It's right here in the ordinance, where it says in respect to conducting fingerprint and background checks on newly hired city employees and certain volunteers.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry, you're looking at the agenda. It may or may not resolve your concerns, but the ordinance itself, in section H1, can I show you?
As long as we have some sort of definition here.
The standard.
I think H4 does specify who gets the, and again, it's anyone who has unsupervised
volunteer
contact.
who will or may have unsupervised contact with children or vulnerable adults.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the way it's written in the agenda item, it doesn't say that, but that's just the general overall view. But in the ordinance, it does specify.
And the way I see it, just about anyone that works in our office buildings or rec center or library will have to be fingerprinted, volunteer or part-time. Obviously, full-time and part-time employees are all going to be fingerprinted. The volunteer, there may be some that do not have to, such as Steve mentioned, our board and commission members, because typically they're going to be in a setting like this, not working individually or with groups of children or vulnerable adults. So that's why the board and commission members were thinking pretty much will be left out of having to be fingerprinted.
Well, as long as we're treating everybody the same and we're clear on what the rules are, that's my concern right there. And it's not arbitrary for, you know, out of the blue for any reason.
It won't be arbitrary for me, for example, to say this one does and this one doesn't if they're working in the same type of situation.
Yeah, well, you would have faith in it. There's other people I don't. We're good.
Yeah, I think the ordinance, from what I read, is pretty specific on what you can do, and it seems to treat people equally because it's the vulnerable children or vulnerable adults and children that, I mean, I think it's pretty specific that they'll get fingerprinted if they have any possibility of working with them.
And it looks very similar to the kind of restrictions they have for if you want to be a substitute teacher, you have to go through that. Anything really working with kids.
So how does the rest of the council feel about, do you feel it's clear enough that everybody would be treated equally?
I do. I just, my main concern is that I think we might see a decline in the amount of people that would like to volunteer for the city because of it. That's just my concern. I have talked to people in the past that have wanted to volunteer, not for the city, but for other cities and whatnot that have had to go through that, and it just sort of rubbed them the wrong way, I guess.
Well, I think with the senior center that happened, they were requiring it, and it cut down on their volunteerism by a great deal because there was a $65 charge. But in this case, the city will be absorbing the costs. And do we have any idea what are those costs?
I probably have it at my office, but I don't have it with me now.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what if I serve on a commission that's full of vulnerable adults? What? I'm kidding.
You said it, I didn't.
In just a moment, I'll ask the public for their comments. Any other questions or comments? No. Okay, so members of the public, if you would give her the microphone, please, Iris.
This is getting embarrassing. Having worked at the YMCA in Los Angeles for like 7-8 years, even back in the 70s, everybody, no matter if you like it, feel left out, whatever, if that job demands that, so be it. And we're all what we assume to be reasonable adults in the room. But one of the adults can go, and, you know, we've seen it on the news. If you fingerprint one, you kind of need to fingerprint across the board. And especially, I'm sorry to say, in Arizona, because we've got such a reputation going on down south, that will pull into up here as well.
Thank you. Okay, so recommended changes, or go ahead with the first reading. What is the council's pleasure?
I say go ahead with the first reading.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so the majority says that they're okay with the ordinance. So city clerk, please read ordinance number 603 by title only.
Ordinance number 603, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, amending section 19H of the city's employee manual and repealing ordinance number 406. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The next item is approval of a guaranteed maximum price amendment to the contract with construction manager at risk, D.L. Withers, for construction of the city's new emergency communications center. And we have Mr. Manjapan on this item.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, we're coming to you tonight for approval to proceed with the guaranteed maximum price contract with D.L. Withers. Give you a little bit of background. Of course, it's for the Emergency Communications Center. The timeline on that project goes back to March of 13 when we selected, or you approved, proceeding with the architect to go with the design. And then also on June 18th when the council approved D.L. Withers' selection as CMAR for the design phase of the project. This is the next phase for them as far as coming up with a guaranteed maximum price for the construction of the facility. We did come to you back in September and showed you some of the slides of the design progress for the project. This, as you see on the slide right now, is a breakdown of the overall project's costs, the GMP being the top line on that, and then some of the other project costs. I wanted you to see it in the context of overall cost, not just the GMP cost. Again, we started the GMP process back in November when we had a open meeting for all the local subs to come by and pick up drawings for the project and also ask any questions. Attendance was pretty sparse at that. December 5th, the bids were due from the subcontractor to DL Withers, and then they put together the GMP based on those bids. We did go around a bit trying to get the numbers back under budget. And it took us about a week or two with working with the subs and working with the user departments to come up with a number that fit within the budget that Rudy had specified for us. Right now, this is the way the numbers shake out. Again, the GMP, that number works out to just about $1,000 below the budget we gave them. So we worked really hard to get down to that number. Overall, the numbers for design, construction administration, the pre-construction that we've already approved, building permits, development fees being the sewer and the water fees that get charged to any user when you tie in a new system. Utility fees, so far, knock on wood, the utility companies have said that they will not be charging us anything extra. Both Unisource and APS believe they'll make more than enough money off of us to recover their costs up front. CenturyLink, that's not exactly a freebie, but that number is in the technology budget number, so we've got that covered also. Special inspections, that's just, during the construction, checking concrete, checking steel, checking welds. That's something that traditionally the owner pays for, is not part of the general contractor's numbers. And they come out with the bottom line at 3.602,858. The budget Rudy approved for us was 3,606,959. So we are just under that budget number. It's been tough. It was a low budget number to begin with, and we really worked hard to stick with it. I do have representatives from DL Withers here tonight. John Norbert, who's the project manager, and then Eric Noble, who's also the project, I'm not getting the titles right, project manager, senior project manager. Routine. Yeah. They've been here before when we got their approval, in case there's any questions you want to ask of them. Also, Commander Eisinger back there, and Marie Carpenter. Marie is our ultimate customer on this, so I always appreciate her attending these things, in case there's any questions as far as how the building's going to get used or any questions on that. I do have slides that show the breakdown of the technology budget, the 850 line item. I figured that was a big enough line item that somebody might want to see how that breaks down. It's a long list. It's a lot of computers, software, everything we need to operate the facility. Most of our equipment is way past replacement. We've been kind of letting it limp along, knowing that we were going to get a new facility. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. One last item as far as Withers is concerned, we did go the Monday between Christmas and New Year's down and do a site visit to the Goodyear facility, which is a new 911 center that they're constructing, designed by the same architects, Arrington Watkins, and also built by DL Withers. It was very interesting to kind of see very similar facility to what we have. It's bigger. They're about 10,000 square feet. We're about 6,400 square feet. But a lot of the support spaces were exactly the same that we're incorporating into our building. So it was kind of nice to see it in 3D. Everything we heard down there regarding Goodyear working with Withers and working with Arrington Watkins was all very positive. No complaints, no comments as far as anything negative. They've been very happy with the results. So it was well worth going down, talking to the communications manager down there and finding out what he's like. A lot of lessons learned on their part we're taking full advantage of, and we walked away pretty happy with the design we have, that we're doing the right things. So it was a good trip. Other than that, if you have specific questions, if anyone needs a reminder, I have slides of the floor plans, the elevations.
Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, I have a question. This may be more of a question for Rudy. I do know our IT folks are pretty stretched, pretty thin. Will the addition of all this new technology affect our IT department or IT workers at all? Or?
Councilman Pratt, as you may or may not recall, we hired on a network administrator recently. He came on board, Drew came on board about 2 weeks ago. Bright young man. I think he's going to do a really good job. He's not too concerned. I had a conversation with him about it. He said it's going to be a big learning curve, but he's up to the challenge. Our concern will probably be further down the road when it actually gets operational.
Okay.
Whether we can keep up with it or not, but that'll be probably a couple years down the road. Hopefully by then we'll be in a better position to hire another IT person if we need to. But currently I believe we're pretty well staffed, and that's one of the reasons we eliminated one position at the finance department to make sure we had a network person available for this particular project.
Thank you.
And just a little additional information on that. We have been meeting on a regular basis for the last couple of months on the technology portion of just the technology portion of this project. Marie Carpenter's been heading that up, and we've had IT people, including Drew, who attended the last meeting. They'll be involved in all the meetings all along, so we're taking full advantage of their input and their expertise. We also have a part-time employee that's also helping us, who's been heavily involved with the Prescott facilities. So there's a lot of knowledge that's coming into the project that's been very helpful. That's one of the reasons we feel pretty comfortable with these numbers, because we've done a lot of homework. That was the one lesson learned from Goodyear, is that their IT support hasn't been all that good. They're finished. I mean, they've got furniture moving in as far as the big consoles and stuff like that. They will probably not be operational until May because of some of their IT issues that they're having. So we've been working real hard on the technology side of things to make sure that isn't an issue. And some of it is stuff that we're going to be doing right up front as we take on Cottonwood Fire as a dispatch, even before we move into the new facility. So it's a big project to try to coordinate the two, but the technology with Marie's help has been a much more comfortable item than I would normally expect. Again, as I said, I've got breakdowns of that. I've also got floor plans and site plans in case anyone has any questions remaining. Otherwise, if
I was going to ask if Marie or Commander Isaac wanted to comment on anything.
Not unless you have any specific questions. As Scott said, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Scott mentioned Marie's been doing a great job. We're trying to line out everything that we're going to need ahead of time and fix a price to everything, and I think we've done a pretty good job of reducing it to that amount. The equipment we're getting is very comparable. We're not going with name brand such as Motorola, for example. We're going with something that's comparable and still provides us a lot of redundancy. It's going to be really good equipment. Prescott is going with that same equipment, so we're not paying for that extra name brand. No, I'm very comfortable with that budget, and we're really looking forward to this project. It's great.
Well, it's good to know that you're working so hard to save the citizens money and yet giving them the quality of service that they need.
Yeah, it'll be a wonderful addition to the city.
Yeah, it's very exciting to think about it. It's a long time coming also. Okay, thank you. Any questions, council members?
I don't know. John, would you like to come up and say something, or just...
John or Eric?
And in case you don't remember Eric was involved in the rec center project with a different construction company. So he's very familiar with Cottonwood and this area up here, and we're looking forward to having him working on it again.
Mayor, board members, do you have any questions of us?
Any questions?
No, we're honored to do your job for you. We're looking forward to it.
And it seems like the construction manager at risk works well for us.
It was very helpful having them here involved in the design process. With the tight budget we have, they worked with us every step, every phase of the design. They come back with numbers. We tweaked the design back a little bit. They came back again with numbers. So it's worked out well. I mean, technically, when we went out to bid with the subcontractors, we were $75,000 over budget on a $2.4 million project, which is pretty good, actually. We still managed to work with them and work with Marine, come up with ideas that would get the budget down to, or get the numbers down to within budget. I think it's going to be a great facility. It works out about the same per square foot that Goodyear's facility is right now. So I feel pretty comfortable that we've got good numbers.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Just one follow-up. Next council meeting, I will be coming to you for approval for the construction administration fees for the architect. When we did their full design project, design approval, we cut that out of their scope of work just because we wanted to wait until we knew whether the project was going to proceed before we would put that into their contract. But that's where you see the number up there on that breakout is the $80,000. But we didn't quite have that nailed down in time to get on this agenda, but we'll come back to you in 2 weeks.
Okay. So any comments from the public on this item? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I will make the motion. I move to accept the proposed guaranteed maximum price, GMP, of $2,410,011 for Emergency Communications Center project and authorize the mayor to execute an amendment to the CMAR contract with DL Withers, subject to final approval of the amendment by the city attorney.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Daly made the motion. Mr. Pratt seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It'll be fun. How far off is the groundbreaking for that? A ways. Wow. Awesome. Okay, great. Okay, item number 5, approval of a guaranteed maximum price amendment to the contract with construction manager at risk. Oops, we just did that, sorry. Yep. Item number 6 is approval to proceed with the 12th Street reconstruction project in 2 phases. Okay, so Mr. Dowling is declaring a conflict and will step down from the dais. And we have Morgan Scott with us this evening to present this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. 12th Street. Obviously, 12th Street's been a priority of the council and the public and staff for quite a while now. In fact, I think it was 2009 when we first brought a consultant on board to start the design of 12th Street. Obviously, we've gone through some ups and downs and designs and redesigns and several obstacles, and we're finally getting that project ready to go. When we went out to hire the engineer at that exact same time, we hired an engineer to build Mingus Avenue, which has now been built. We built the first portion of 12th Street from Birch Street to Mingus Avenue, which has now been built. And in the meantime, we've built 10th Street, got that designed and built and everything all. So obviously that all those projects have taken some time away from staff. And that's one of the reasons this project's taken so long. But one of the other reasons, and I'm sure you've heard this lately, is obtaining right-of-ways and easements. And that's kind of where this project is sitting right now. And that's why staff has brought a couple ideas to you today. And the idea we'd like to do, or we'd like to present, is the idea of splitting the project into 2 phases. Basically building the south half, which is pretty much ready to go. So the plans are at 90%. I'll show you in just a minute. We have the majority of the easements ready to go. And those we don't have, we have verbal agreements. We're just waiting to sit down to sign them with a few property owners on the south end of the project. But that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, is the possibility of splitting this project up. If that's the direction we end up going, it would be staff's goal to get this north half out to bid as soon as possible, but no guarantees on that, because as I'll go into in a second, there's quite a few property owners we're still working with on the north half of the project, and I can't give you a definitive date. And one of the other reasons the staff is recommending this, as many of you know, the southern portion of the project is the portion that's in the worst condition. It has the worst material, it's a lot of potholes, And I know this was no one's vision to split it up. We'd rather get it all done at once, but this may be something the council would want to consider in order to get the worst portion done as soon as possible and come back and get the north half done as soon as possible after that. This is an overhead of 12th Street. Tom Pender's here with us tonight for any questions we might bring up. At the top of the screen, you can see State Route 89A. At the bottom of the screen, you can see First Street, and that's 12th Street, everywhere in between there. All the parcels in red, outlined in red, are the parcels that staff has already obtained all the easements, right-of-ways, everything else we need from those parcels, and that's, I believe, close to 28 parcels already obtained. The parcels outlined in blue are the parcels we have not yet obtained the easements necessary, and that green line you see is the proposed southern project, if that's the direction staff would like to go. Real quick, I'd like to hit on those 3 parcels that are in the southern portion. You'll see 2 down near First Street. We have verbal agreements with both of those property owners. You may remember those are the property owners with the very large trees. They're going to be losing those trees. So we had a rather complicated agreement we had to work out, and that's one of the reasons that's taken a little bit longer. But they've both said verbally they're fine with it. We just need to sit down and sign the agreement. Then the only other parcel is a little bit further to the north, outlined in blue, right across the street from the United Methodist Church. And that is Mr. Escalante, who has also been great to work with. Unfortunately, his father passed away, and the estate was left in a trust. So we're actually working with his attorneys and our attorneys to find out who can actually sign for that easement. So they've said they're fully supportive of the project. We want to see it happen. We're just trying to work out a little bit of the legal details. But for the most part, the southern portion of the project's ready to go. And I do know there's been some concerns brought up. Okay, what happens if we break this project up? The first is, where would we stop? And staff has spent a little bit of time thinking about that, and we can bring up Tom Pender to discuss that. The area right now, you can see where that green line stops. Somewhere around the Christian Care Housing Facility would be approximately where we would suggest. And I'll go into that in a minute, but the basic reasoning is that's where the profiles of the road line up. If we go any further north, we would have a drop off in the road. And the second reason, I think someone had a concern about, well, weren't we bringing fill from the southern portion of the project to the northern portion of the project? Actually, that's not the case, and we may want to ask Mr. Pender to talk about that a little bit more. But the reason 12th Street's in such poor condition is because there's a bunch of clay underneath the road, so it's not suitable for fill material. We don't want to improve the southern portion of 12th Street just to put bad material into the northern portion.
Because then we would be causing the north side to suffer what the south side has suffered with the clay.
That's correct. We're going to take out the bad material or stabilize it, and then we're going to bring in good material where we need it. So I do know that was one concern. Any other questions on this side before I jump? Again, those are the 2 concerns. Real quick, as far as why we're suggesting stopping somewhere near the Christian housing facility, even though we do have easements further north. I think Miss Eldred has signed an easement, and Mr. Jackson signed an easement, and the Nobles and the Denny's are, although we don't have a signed easement yet, they're working very closely with us. So we could go further north as far as easements go. But as you can see here, that red line on bottom, that's the existing road as it is today. This is the profile of the road. And that green line is the proposed road. So as you can see, if we went any further north, further towards Miss Eldred's property, the Nobles property, Mr. Jackson's property, we would have a substantial drop off in the road in the meantime. So the closer we can get to where the roads are actually proposed and existing are going to meet, the more money we can save, the less waste we'll have. So that's why staff's suggesting that area.
I was just wondering, did you talk with Miss Eldred about possibly stopping before you got to her property? Have you communicated that so that she knows?
We have not spoken to her, but we can.
And I mean, you wouldn't know until the council decided, but it would be great if she could know what's happening and be advised of it. So who was first?
I think Tim was.
Mr. Elinsky?
I just, concern I have is the cost associated with splitting the project into 2 phases. Would it wind up costing us more money to do that?
I think it could, especially when you're dividing among potentially 2 different contractors. The big portion will be how long does it take us to get the north half back out? Will it cost us a little bit more? Yes, and that's something that I think I want council to be aware of. yes, we can get the southern portion done sooner. We will have minimal waste by tying them together where they're already meant to tie together. But yeah, 2 different contractors, possibly two different mobbing costs to get all their equipment up here. That would probably be the extra costs. All the advertising, which is minimal usually. I want to say we spent $100 in advertising at the beginning of the project. And then obviously the mobbing cost, which will be a little substantial. But yes, there will be a cost associated with that.
Okay.
Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, as long as the cost didn't explode, I would be in favor of this because that southern portion really is in bad shape. As we look at this here now, where is First Street? Is that to the right? Am I right?
First Street is to the left.
To my left, okay.
I apologize, I didn't explain this very well. This is property right here. Is Miss Elgin's property.
Okay.
This is the Christian Care Facility. So this is Mr. Escalante's property. This is the United Methodist Church. This would be the Jackson property, which is now
okay.
He's got proposed apartments there. And then you get into the Noble's property. So yes, First Street, this much further down this end of the project.
Yeah.
And 89A much further north.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense because that road really is in terrible shape. I've driven it a few times this last week.
With no sidewalks.
I might do that.
My dream is to have 10 wheelchairs and we all go.
Okay.
And I'm talking Morgan about it.
Okay, so the question is, and there's 5 of us, so we have a quorum, is do we want to separate the projects in order to move ahead with this? And if we don't, that means it would be postponed even another year. Mr. Elinsky.
I don't like the idea of doing the project in 2 phases. First reason is the cost, and second reason is the impact to the neighborhood. I feel like the project of that size is really going to impact that neighborhood, and we could run into a situation where we get the southern half complete, and then 6 months, 9 months later start the north half, and I feel like it'd be better to do it all in one fell swoop. And it may also put additional pressure for some of the property owners to, try to work with the city and in the best interests of the entire neighborhood and the entire city to allow the project to go through.
And I guess I would sort of, Mr. Pratt, go ahead.
I was going to say, have we talked to the people in the neighborhood and how they feel about it being done in 2 phases?
Most of and obviously there's differing opinions.
Yeah.
Most of the neighbors to the south feel like they want it to be done as soon as possible.
Right.
And they were kind of told that. We said, hey, we have a goal of getting this done. We told them next summer.
So the concern about the impact on the neighborhood may not be there because these people support it.
The people on the southern half support it.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, there's some people on the north half who are concerned about the design, concerned about how much it's going to impact their property. And I should add that the people on the north half, because we're kind of leveling out the road, there's some big ups and downs. Because we're going to level that out, those people are impacted a lot more. There's going to be a considerable amount of slope on their property. So I can understand them wanting to be more involved in the process and a little more concerned. However, we're not able to reach agreements, or at least we haven't been able to yet.
And I think the people on the south side are at their wits' end with the wait. It's been, 4, 5, 6 years, and they're tired of waiting. I just heard from somebody recently. Where was it? Oh, it was at the Crestview Homeowners Association. They're saying, you guys have been telling us. You've been telling us and telling us and telling us for years, and it's not done.
I hear about it at least once at the rec center every day.
Mm-hmm.
People are really concerned about this, so I really do support the 2 phases.
I think that the Crestview neighbors are going to be really upset because they don't feel that we have kept our word, to be honest.
Yep.
This will take it right past Crestview. A little bit.
Yeah. We have another person who would like to speak. Kyla Allen from our audience.
I'm going to wear a couple different hats as a member of the public. I live at 1309 East Apache Street. I drive that road 5 days a week, twice every day, to drop a child off at school and pick her up. And it is horrible. I mean, it's just a miserable road. I can't imagine being a citizen living there. I can't imagine being a citizen that is asked repeatedly to have that road cleaned up. The council knows just by our biennial community surveys, that is the top item on the list that people are so frustrated about. And I think it would behoove the council to approach it from that manner. What best way can you do to serve the citizens? And personally, from my point of view, it would be to split it up. Let's show some progress. Let's show them that we're listening. And it may be a little bit of more money down the road, but let's show them that we're listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Comment. Point well taken. Okay, any other questions, Vice Mayor?
Morgan, what is the chance of those people on the other end, on the north end, once they see the improvements on the south end, just jumping right on board?
Or once they see us moving forward, jumping
right.
in, feeling a little bit more pressure. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that. Obviously, there will be a little bit more pressure to get that going. If they choose not to participate, then unfortunately we go through what's a condemnation process, which I don't think the city's been through, at least since I've been here. Steve?
No.
Yes, I don't think the city's...
Maybe the last time was this building we're in, huh?
Oh, that was a bear.
And that would be, I think that Councilmember Howdiggy would have maybe been involved in that, and Vice Mayor. I remember reading about it in the paper.
Mr. Crane.
Yeah. We acquired water companies through friendly condemnation.
Okay, the water companies, right. So members of the public?
You're going to get so sick of me. Oh, you don't have to. Okay. As we've discussed, on that part of 89A, when you get up to AutoZone, how are those driveways going to meld in with my particular favorite? The one that I'm gonna die on.
Are you referring to the new Discount Tire driveway?
No. When you go up 12th, you're gonna hit AutoZone. And since the building next door was set up that way because they want only lefts, once you get up to AutoZone, how are you going to do that?
Sure. This project actually won't do any improvements out on the state highway except for maybe right at the intersection of 12th and 89A. So it will only be on 12th Street going south. So no improvements on the sidewalks or the driveways out on 89A. Did that answer your question?
Well, yeah, I just didn't, as it was getting wider, I didn't know that we can't go into AutoZone and box building this way, so I didn't know how it was going to work out with, turn lanes.
It's actually not widening very much, mostly just adding curb, gutter, and sidewalk. The width won't change very much up at 89A. At other portions further south, it will get substantially wider because we are adding bike lanes, curb and gutter, sidewalks, so it'll get wider than it is today. But up at 89A, the width should not substantially increase.
Sidewalks?
Yes.
On 12th?
So, Mr. Pender, did you have any comments that you wanted to share tonight?
Tom Pender, 300 East Cherry. No, I'd answer any questions you might have. It's been a long project. We've been working on it since 2009. There was about a year where it would just set dormant. But since then, we've been nonstop on this project. My designer, Mr. Dowling, has been working every hour of the day for the last 6 months just on trying to work out the easements and all with these folks. So we're ready for something to happen also.
I understand.
So.
And I mean, you started in 2009, but the council's discussion of this street started even before that, I think.
I don't think I had gray hair at the time.
Ever since I've been on the council, we've been talking about
that's
this.
back when you were taller, right?
Yeah, when I was taller too, yeah.
Okay, so the question, any more comments from members of the public? Mr. Pratt?
We ready for a motion?
Yes.
I move to...
Question
oh, yes,
before you do the
absolutely.
So if this is split up in 2 phases, and there's a strong well, it's going to cost more to do it that way. How much more do you think it's going to cost?
Off the top of my head, I think the only substantial cost should be the mobilization of the equipment. Everything else should be approximately the same. I want to say on Mingus Avenue, our mobilization cost was near 30 grand. So I apologize, I don't really want you to quote me on that, but I think 30 grand would be a rough estimate of what the mobilization cost might be.
Okay.
It might be a little bit of, what do they call it? Economies of scale. Obviously, you get to do more, you're going to get a better unit price. But again, we're also hoping to get this out, so hopefully the same contractor can get it and do quite a bit of the work while he's still got his equipment there.
Okay. Thank you.
One more item, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I know you were concerned about Ms. Eldred specifically, but if council would like, if this is the direction we go, we can get a flyer out and a public notification out to let the public know that, okay, we are breaking it into 2 phases. Don't be surprised when it's not going to complete the whole project. We will come back to do the north half. It's just going to be 2 separate projects. So if that's the direction we decide to go, we can make sure everyone's notified about that.
Be good.
Yeah, PSA would make sense.
Now, Mayor, and correct me if I'm wrong, but ideally what we would hope is we would bid this first phase. In the interim, be able to resolve these outstanding easement disputes still in time to bid out the second half so we can complete it all this year.
And just
ideally, that's the plan.
Continue the work, yeah.
But if we don't do it now, we will not proceed for another year.
Yeah.
So
it would be, we're running real close in terms of the window for them to be able to lay asphalt and get everything done during the months that allow that. So.
Okay, so Mr. Pratt.
I move to conduct the 12th Street reconstruction project in 2 phases in accordance with the staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Pratt made the motion, the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Mr. Elinsky's opposed. So the vote was 4-1. All right, the next item is lease purchase financing for communications. And we have Lisa Elliott, or do we have Jesus Rodriguez?
I've got it here.
Okay.
Thank you. This is kind of dovetails with what we talked about just a little while ago concerning the new communication system center that we're looking at. The $850,000 we bid out is for communication, furniture, and equipment, other equipment at the facility that we're getting ready to hopefully break ground relatively soon on. There was a bid put out by Lisa, and you have the tabulation sheet with you. We had 3 bidders, National Bank of Arizona, Wells Fargo Equipment Finance, and U.S. Bancorp Leasing. As you can see, it was pretty easy decision just looking at the interest rates. Not to mention that they're ready to fund. As a matter of fact, they've been on the horn with us a number of times wanting to know, can they go ahead and start funding some of these items. So there's really not much to talk about on here. The $850,000 was displayed up on the overheads, and we're just asking council to approve the award of the lease financing for the communication equipment to U.S. Bancorp Government Leasing.
Sounds good. Good deal.
No brainer.
I'm thinking the same thing myself.
That's a great phrase.
Any comments from the public? Any more questions from the council? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to award the bid for lease purchase financing for the equipment for the new Emergency Communication Center to U.S. Bancorp Government Leasing and Finance.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Elinsky made the motion. Mr. Dowling seconded it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Thank you. We've already done 8. Number 9, the City Council 2014 Strategic Planning Retreat. So we are, it's time again to talk about our retreat. We always do something before we get into the budget for the year. And so I just wanted to seek council's input this year. Just find out if you like it the way it's always been, or do you want to maybe hire somebody to facilitate a process? And the city clerk looked at a couple for me. One of them, one facilitator was the facilitator for all the Fit Kids strategic planning sessions that we have every 6 months, and she also did the Yavapai County Water Advisory Committee facilitation, and she's very, very good. Her name is Holly Yeager. And I know a lot of times these facilitators cost a minimum of $6,000, and that's probably why we've never had one before. So I thought her price was very reasonable. She charges $1,000 for a day facilitation. That includes a planning call to clarify the deliverables and whatever else we want to share, and an hour or less check-in call a month. An hour or less check-in call a month after the retreat to discuss how the results are being integrated, overcoming any implementation challenges, etc. The cost also includes design of the agenda and materials. And she says, I ask that you pay for travel, mileage, and copies. She also types up the proceedings, and she has many years of experience with local governments and would be interested to know how the retreat outcomes fit with our current budget and performance management systems. And the other person was Peggy Fiandaca, and she works a lot with the Arizona wine growers. And how I found out about her was at an event I was attending down in Phoenix, and I was sitting by a council member from Marana who said, oh, we get her to do our retreats. And so I was talking to Marianne about that, and she checked out her company, which is called Partners for Strategic Action, Inc., Fountain Hills, Arizona, and PSA offers all the inclusive budget of $2,800 to execute the proposed approach. In addition to the approach outlined, preparation, questionnaire, interviews, facilitation, summary report, debrief, next steps, PSA anticipates serving in a consulting and support role through the process. The fee is inclusive of travel costs and assumes the City Council retreat will be held in Cottonwood. The fee does not include costs for meeting, logistics, printing, and other direct costs. And then in talking with Council Member Garrison, who was able to attend about just a couple of hours last year, he was there. He suggested that Barbie Rand is also a great facilitator, and he didn't know how much she would charge. So that was just an idea that was not one that we had time to really research. But so my question to the council is, do we want to try something new? Do we want to get a facilitator to lead us through our thoughts on the coming year? Do we want to continue to do what we've always done, which is we spend a day with our staff and hear presentations from them? And the city manager does a lot of work, which he would have to be a key component of however we do it. You know, he'll have to, if we do hire a facilitator, he would be working with them also to help us through that. And then more questions would be, you know, where do we want to hold it? And what kinds of goals and ideas? I mean, if we do get a facilitator, we would have a process where I'm sure she or he or whoever would do it would, you know, ask us what our goals are and take us through a process like we usually go through every year anyway. So what are the council's thoughts on how do you want to do this year's retreat?
I like the idea of trying something new. I think, I remember when Mickelson facilitated it, I mean, I feel like a facilitator would be kind of a nice change.
Okay.
No, I don't mean any offense to Doug.
Taken.
Okay. Doug he'll still be a very integral part of the process.
And I think by his own admission too, Mickelson said he wasn't a facilitator, but he was obviously saving us money. But remember, it was led. I'm interested in trying something new.
Didn't Peggy Fiandaca do a few things for the city or the APS or some of those? Focus Future. So I remember her way back when I first got on the council.
Okay.
She's good too.
Is she good?
Yes.
Don't forget to look at my business card.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
I kind of like the idea of, if you do go with a facilitator, I kind of like the idea of hiring somebody from out of town.
Yeah, I was just thinking Barb's good, but
she's very close to us.
She's also got to work with us, all of us.
Yeah. She would be excellent, but she's also a very busy person.
She is.
And the impartiality of somebody from out of town too, I think would be beneficial for us.
I agree.
So Peggy knows us pretty well, so the first one, Holly. Might be an option.
Holly's, I think she's quite good.
Where's she from?
Flagstaff, I think. I think she's worked for Coconino County in different capacities. I'm not sure exactly which capacities, but. Jesse, your thoughts?
A little bit. I'm thinking like, a picnic with some live music. Maybe something to really jazz it up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like what can we do that would make it fun for the council members? I mean, a retreat is actually supposed to be a time you get away from it all and you just have this time to really talk and plan for your goals for the next year and the next 5 years. The wine industry. Well, we are a city council. I don't think so.
I can understand wanting to try something new. If we were going to do that, I would try and opt for somebody from out of town that was the most reasonable fee. I think.
Mr. Pratt?
I'm kind of two ways about it. I don't really know that we need a facilitator and do we want to spend the money, but I also could go with one. I do think the rec center was a fine venue, perhaps. I'm trying to think of another place that might be more comfortable, and I'm not sure I can think of one. We don't have too many facilities around here for that kind of thing.
Pretty nice place, right.
So I'll go along with the majority here. I'm wishy-washy on the facilitator, but I can go either way. I'm on the fence on this one.
Okay.
The reason I think a facilitator would be good too is that it's what they do for a living. Is they work with councils and committees and large groups of people to glean from them what their vision is. So I think it would just be good for us. And again, no offense to present company, but we've just been doing it ourselves, and we're not really professionals. So in facilitating.
Yeah.
And
Mr. Pratt?
The reason I'm on the fence is I have been in groups with facilitators, and they really weren't all that productive. Facilitators came in with a kind of an agenda themselves and didn't really know the culture and understand what we wanted to talk about. And to me, part of the retreat is just for us to brainstorm. What are the kind of things we want to focus on this year? And certainly one of them will be, let's continue to focus on improving our roads. And the facilitator may, ask that question that we can ask very easily ourselves.
Right.
And I really have been in groups with facilitators where
didn't accomplish a whole lot.
Be reflective in the same way we'd be reflective without you.
Right.
So.
Vice Mayor, did you have any comments or thoughts?
A facilitator would also, I think, maybe bring some new light, maybe bring stuff out of us that we just take for granted, we haven't thought about. They might think about something different that would enlighten us a little bit.
And Mr. Hadigi?
Yeah, I like the idea of facilitator.
Okay. So are you happy, council, with the two that we've researched? I mean, do you have any ideas of someone else that you know?
I think someone out of the area is best too.
Yeah, I agree with
We're
that.
gonna go there.
Just somebody with a
Pretty much
fresh
with the
set of eyes. Okay. So is Holly, she's the least expensive. Is that someone that you think you'd like to try?
Why not?
Sure, is there any restrictions on?
Yeah, I was going to say, are there any procurement restrictions we have on how, does this have to go out to a bid?
Not at this amount.
Not at $1,000. So it's something we would just put on the next agenda.
So Doug, consider on the table with us and we can harass him?
Well, he's going to be, he's going to be a partner and a big part of it. And I don't know, if we want to, probably talking with whoever we get, if we want to set aside hours with our staff or whatever the city manager wants to do with the presentation thing, or, if we want to just do a day of, I suppose that would be pending based on what her suggestions would be, but what are your thoughts?
I think mostly we'll want to give the results to the staff, because what we really want to look at is what do we want to do as a council.
And it's just, the
And then we can
big
disseminate the
ideas, the big
information
themes.
and tell the roads folks, guess what? We're going to keep you busy this year because we're going to try to do something on our roads. Parks and Rec people, we're going to keep you busy doing this because we want this. This is what we think is important. So I think pretty much we have to focus on what we want to work on, what our goals are, and then present that information to the staff in a written form.
I mean, we could even do the staff part during a meeting. We do it, the whole budget process is part of that too.
Right. Yeah.
Is getting reports from them and that sort of thing. So we're just, we're thinking of the big picture here, the themes that are important to us. And then the city manager can kind of help us fill in the blanks of, and he will advise us, we might have some very large ideas, and he will be able to look at that idea and say, well, it's going to take this much staff. And is the council willing to, or it's going to take this much time based on the staff I have. So he would be a big part of our big ideas.
Are we going to need a facilitator to discuss the facilitation of the facilitator?
No.
No.
Mr. Pratt?
I do think it would be important to get one very soon, considering our retreat is going to be pretty soon. Have that person be in touch with the city manager and perhaps solicit 1 or 2 bullet points from us of things we would like to accomplish that day.
Right, and every year we have that opportunity,
We
but
could just
not
send
all of
those
us
as an email.
contribute.
But we just need those ahead of time. And when is our retreat?
Well, that's a part of the agenda item for all of us to have brought our calendars and look at dates that were available.
And Madam Mayor, in terms of moving this ball down this field, I think council can by motion direct staff to go ahead and procure after tonight the facilitator without coming back to you for a motion on that.
Right.
And Madam Mayor, just one of the recommendations, it would be valuable for the facilitator to get together with Scott Havis, our branding.
Right.
Because that's coming to conclusion, and I think that'll play a big role in the council's discussion.
Absolutely, because we're going to be looking at our vision and mission statements to line up with our new branding policy, so absolutely, that's a good point.
So what month were we thinking of?
We usually do it in January.
Yeah, and that's why I said we have to move on it, because it's January 6th today.
Right, and so looking at your calendars, I have the 24th open in January. It's a Friday.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I spoke to both facilitators about what dates they'd be available.
Oh, okay.
Holly is available Monday, the 27th, and then February 3rd, 5th, or the 6th.
And February 3rd and February 6th?
February 3rd, 5th, or 6th.
What days of the week are those?
I don't have my calendar, I'll have to check, but she is available Monday, January 27th.
Okay.
3rd, 5th, and 6th. 3rd, 5th, and 6th are a Monday, Tuesday, no. Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Of the following.
Of February, yes.
Okay, so what do you guys think? What works for you? What works for you, folks that work every day?
Mondays.
Mondays?
It's true.
So Monday the 27th, what about you, Terrence?
That would work for me. I may have to miss a hour and 15 minutes for a class, but
Okay,
other than that, I should be.
okay.
Madam Mayor, I don't know for sure that I'll be able to make it.
If you'll be...
Oh, that's right.
Up and walking by that time.
So are you going to, because it's imperative that we get started on this, is there a staff member like Mr. Rodriguez that you would appoint in your place?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
I even checked in the room because
Yeah, usually you're not here when we appoint
I know where you can borrow a wheelchair.
And that may be it.
Right.
You know, by the 27th, I should be up and around, I'm thinking, so.
So does that work with most of us, the 27th?
I have a
Monday the
doctor's appointment, but I can move it.
When is your baby going to be born? The
Couldn't tell you.
27th?
She or he hasn't told us yet, so we don't really know. But it doesn't matter. Just let me know when it is. I'll make sure I'm there. And if I'm not there, then I'm probably changing diapers. So. I always make them, so I'll make it. Just bring them with.
Yeah, you're very dedicated. I don't think you've ever missed one, have you? That I recall.
We have changing tables at the rest.
Great.
Okay, so Monday the 27th is our first target date, and I know that you work on Mondays,
I'll
but
take it off.
you can switch maybe to another day that week.
No, I'll just take it off because the only other day is Friday for me, and I have things that I have to do
I know,
on
and
Friday.
Fridays you don't like Fridays either,
Well,
so.
I've got
Because you have
commitments.
so many things going on.
Yeah.
So Friday's your day. Okay, Monday the 27th. What else do we need to know? So staff we can make a motion that staff would go ahead and proceed with procurement of the facilitator.
Ms. Yeager.
Yeah, and then Doug and I can start working with her if that's the council's pleasure. And whoever else he appoints, if he's not able to do it.
Yeah, we'll include Rudy in the discussions.
Okay, perfect.
He's up to speed.
Okay. All right, so back to our item. I feel like we accomplished a lot in this discussion. Thank you all very much.
So do we need to make a motion?
I'm going right there. So Mr. Pratt, please. Oh, any comments from the public first? Okay, Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, there's no motion suggested on the agenda, but I move
Make one up.
I move to direct the staff to procure a facilitator for the council retreat on January 27th
At the Recreation Center?
at the Recreation Center.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Pratt made the motion. Mr. Elinsky seconded it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And just for clarification, it was with Holly Yeager that you wish to?
Yes.
Okay.
So do you want to have that in your motion? Do we need to amend, or is that just good enough as it is?
Unless any council member thinks that they would change their vote, I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, so the next item is the claims report.
I move we pay the claims.
Second, Mr. Elinsky made the motion, the mayor seconded it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I move we adjourn. The mayor made the motion, the vice mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.